Do you have a book coming out? Maybe you've had a book out that's still the best kept secret. A podcast book tour can be a fun and powerful way to spread your message and a powerful tool to make it easy to get on the show and to have a great interview is the book summary. We're going to go through that today. And speaking of a great book and a great author, I'd like to introduce you to a friend of mine.
Hi, this is Dan Miller, host of the 48 Days podcast. A lot of you have discovered that part of doing the work you love includes a podcast. And I commend you on upping your game by listening to Podcast Guest Profits, hosted by my good friend Tom Schwab, sponsored by Interview Valet.
Podcast book tours are a great way. You want to go out and get to your ideal audience. The idea of going from store to store, from Barnes & Noble to Barnes & Noble just doesn't work anymore. Podcast book tours can be a scalable way to get out there, to get your message out to the masses. But one of the things is you need to get on the podcast first. You need the host to say yes to you as a guest. Then you also need them to have a great interview. Now, let's be honest. Not everybody has the time to read your book. We all would love to, but we're limited. So if you can give a summary to the podcast host to make it easy for them to see who you are, what you talk about, key takeaways, and questions that their audience might have, you'll not only have a better chance of getting invited, but you'll also have a better interview. They'll go the direction where you want to go. Now, let's look at a couple examples of these. Now, here's a book summary from Chris Tuff. Now, Chris wrote a great book called The Millennial Whisperer. It hit USA Today bestseller list. Now, it's a great book, but would the host be able to read the entire thing and take all the notes before the interview? Maybe, maybe not. So Chris sent them, along with his introduction, this book summary. And you'll see it. Most of this is all about the book. We've got the artwork for it. We've got the picture of Chris. And then we've also got up here the book and what it's all about. The top part is more executive summaries. The middle part is always key takeaways. And then the bottom part is questions that your audience might have. Now, this book summary is in addition to the one sheet that we would make for Chris. So this is more the background on who the author is, right? So people may not know who Chris Tuff is, but they'll see the endorsement from Jesse Itzler and say, I know Jesse. This will be all the ways that they can connect with Chris to make sure that they use the right social media when they're promoting him. There's a little background on him. Might not be necessarily be about the book. And then there's the third person suggested introduction. This is what they're going to introduce him with. In the industry, it's called a rip and read bio. And then finally, there's some more interview topics here that may be tied to the book or might be tied outside the book. Let's look at a couple other examples here too. So here we've got Steve Anderson with the Bezos Letters. Great, great book. And this one has been translated into dozens of languages. Same way here. You want to make it easy for the host to say yes and then give a great interview. Even if they read the book already, this is a great cliff notes, if you will, for them to highlight things, to print out, to say, yeah, these are the things that I want to talk about. So it starts off with the executive summary, key takeaways, and the host could print this out and say, yeah, these are the ones that I want to talk about. And then even questions that the audience might have. Once again, make it easy for the host. Make it easy for them to say yes, and then make it easy for them to give a great interview. Another one is the time cleanse. Steve Griffiths did a great job on this book and the whole concept behind it. Very, very timely. So with this, once again, the picture of the book that they can use, an executive summary. We worked with one client and we talked with them and they had a 5-page summary of the book. Well, it was great, but nobody is going to read a 5-page summary on their phone. Be brief, be to the point. Make them look like a genius, asking the right questions on the podcast interview. Key takeaways and ones, again, questions the audience might have. Sometimes a book would have co-authors. In this case, Sarah and Bill did an awesome book, same way. While they each have their own one sheet that talks about them, their bio, their contact information, their suggested intro, for the book, we put them together. So we can talk about the book, the key takeaways, and the question the audience might have. You've done all of this work for a book. Now make sure people get out there and that they learn from the book. You know, it's not about how many you sell. It's about how many conversations you start, how many lives you change with your book. And a great way to do that, to start those conversations, is on a podcast book tour. If you've got a launch coming up, you can start 3 to 4 months beforehand and get all of that work, that information done before the book launches, and then have the host launch it plus or minus a week when it launches, and that'll help you hit some lists. Other people that already have books out may want to continue to fill the funnel, to build that brand. And your book is still pertinent. So stay out there and keep talking about it. If you'd like to learn more about how we could help you with the podcast book tour, please reach out to us. We'd be thrilled to work with you.